What's going on, my friends? I hope you're well. Trying something new here. I'm just using the microphone in my sound interface. I think it sounds better and not as echoey. Um, just wanted to get on and kind of check back in with you for one, and kind of as things come to mind, I'll talk about it. I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do, but the talking about contracts, I may touch on it a little bit and see how careful I can be with that. But today's topic is there's a crossroads. We're going to talk about it here. And if you look at behind me, this big box looks like it's a mess. There's a new chair, new back there, it's backwards. There's a new chair in, and I'll be putting it together, and that'll be what we're doing. So you see a microphone next to me right here. So that microphone is what I'm using to record this. So hopefully the audio would sound better, not as echoey. I think it'd be cool. I'll start doing that and start using this with Ecamm. I think it's cool. But we got to talk about the crossroads of something I bought a few months ago, and I know a lot of you told me, don't do it. You can do everything in Logic Pro. And I knew that. I said I could do everything in Logic Pro. And I started messing with it, and it's easy to work with, but it's not easy in a sense of what I want. And folks, we're talking about that MPC Keys 37. I love it. It's that red elephant in the corner, that shiny toy that I'm not using. I haven't used but a couple times, just messing around. I haven't done anything serious with it. Now, don't get me wrong. I think MPCs are incredible. Let me get this out the way and tell you that I think it's incredible technology. They're great machines. And if it works for you, you do it. There are guys that produce solely on MPC, but a lot of times they're going to take those tracks, they transfer them to a DAW and finish them out. What I don't want is have to render those things with thumb drive, put them on my computer, or have to hook up a USB cable if it works that way. I don't know if it does. But transfer them on my computer and then throw them in Logic Pro. Have to render, loops that have a tail and some that don't. I don't need to do all that. I want one DAW that does everything I need, that I love, and that's Logic Pro. And I think what I've come to is I need a good controller that does everything as if it were that 37 right there. Something like a Kai MPK 249, which is 49 key, or 37, maybe smaller, that's about the same size as that, or just get something different and just go with it. But here's the kicker here, all those instruments I bought for that MPC and I installed on that MPC, they're VSTs on my computer. They put them on my computer too. I have the instruments through Logic Pro. I'm playing on them now. I'm actually playing on them now. And why do I need two? They sound exactly the same. They're incredible. Air Technologies, I'm going to tell you, they're incredible, man. They make great instruments. And I remember Air Technologies, when I started using Pro Tools years ago, they do a lot of synths and stuff for Pro Tools and really good stuff. And they've come a long ways. And I'm gonna use those instruments on here on my Logic Pro. But at this point, I may toy with it this weekend, see what I can come up with. But I just think I'm at a point where I think it's all great, and I wanted to buy it because one thing is I got it out of my system. It told me whether it was going to work for me or not. Now, yeah, did I lose a little money? Yeah, and I knew it was going to be that way. That's the whole part of this journey, As I said a long time ago, music gear is not an investment, folks. You need to understand that it's not like you buy a house, it's going to mature in value. You're investing in it. Now, you're investing in your career when you do buy equipment that you're going to use. Do I need two pieces of equipment for that? No. Now, if I were a hip-hop guy and I really dove into that heavily, or an EDM guy that dove into that heavily and stuff, yeah, I would probably be working the MPC as a tool too. Now, there's one guy out there that I do see who puts his guitar into that and plays along with backing tracks and doing blues stuff. But, he's kind of limited where he could do different parts and he can sequence it with his guitar, but he's not getting the best of with guitar sounds in that. It has some. You could probably plug a Pod Go into it or something cool, and if you want to do it right. But point taken again is that one DAW that does everything on my MacBook Pro is right here. And I'll tell you, the instruments on that thing, they need to put more RAM on it. There's not enough RAM. I don't think there's about 4 gigabytes of RAM, maybe 8. The instruments take way longer. It's like I'm sitting there going, okay, is it going to load? It drives me crazy. I've got the MPC DAW on my computer, but I'm not going to use it. I don't need another DAW. I've got Logic Pro. I want to be good at one DAW that I love, one digital audio workstation that I love, and go with that. I'm happy with it. Listen, you can do any of this stuff that MPC can do for the most part. You can do it in Logic Pro. You can do it in Ableton Live. You can do it in Persona Studio One Pro. You can do it in Reason. I don't work with Reason anymore. I've talked about that before, is that their DAW has just fallen behind. Now, do I use Reason racks and their instruments and effects? Yes. I've used them on a daily basis. I love them. I still use Reason. I just don't use the DAW because it just, performance-wise, it has fallen behind. And a lot of editing and a lot of features with the audio, it started out great and all of a sudden declined. I don't know what happened with that. But I love Logic Pro. Logic Pro has a feature with blocks, that you can, you can sequence it just like they do in FL Studio or what they do in Ableton Live, where you run a loop and it's going and you switch instruments and you can loop out another part and play it, and you can do another part and it'll loop just like this does, and you can sequence it however you want and sequence your track. And the cool thing about Logic Pro is that you can just right click and you can turn it all to MIDI and turn them into 8-bar or 4-bar loops and sequence it again how you want, and you can add to it, put your guitar in, and limitless things which you can do. The MPC, you can only get 8 audio tracks, and if you max it out with 8 audio tracks, you've limited your resources for everything else you're going to put into it. So if you don't use any audio tracks, you can get a great deal of instrument tracks with MIDI, but again, Akai should have put more RAM into that thing. And I hear a lot of people talk about that. Why didn't they put more, at least 16 gig of RAM in this thing? They wouldn't do it. I don't think there's 4 gig of RAM in that Keys 37. Now, mind you, if you want an MPC, the MPC One is incredible. That box, basically all that is that red MPC One. It just has keys to it. There's $100 difference. If you have an MPC controller, you got a little MIDI controller or a little MPC Mini LPK25 or a MPK Mini Plus 37, you can just plug it in there and there's your controller and it works beautifully with it. You can do either one, I would say if you get an MPC, this Keys 37 is incredible. That'd be the one to get. And people are raving about it, They say they like it better than that big old MPC Key 61, but I just, at this point, don't think the MPC is for me, and I think I'd rather somebody have it that's going to put it to good use, and they'll get it for a bit less. I think I paid $900 for it a few months ago, and it's only been used 4 times. It's never left the studio. Basically, this thing is brand new. You'll get it for a little bit less. I'm not going to give it away. Are you kidding me? And be firm on my price, because you're not going to get a brand new MPC anywhere else on that. I have the box, the manuals, and everything with it. All they need to do is log in, and install their stuff. I'm going to have to figure out how to restore this back to factory defaults, log out of it. That's not hard. Somebody will tell me how to do that. That's not hard at all. But the pads on it are incredible. Kai's been so good at that, man. The key bed plays so well. And I think where I'm at here is I'm at a crossroads with a good key bed and just some pads, a good controller, have some knobs and faders, have a good modulation and a good pitch wheel, not these strips. Now, I got the Novation here. It has these strips on it. It has the pads. This Novation Launch Key Mini is cool and all, but I think I could do something even better. But Novation makes great keyboards. Don't get me wrong. I think they're great. And I've been looking, I don't know. You look at the Native Instruments stuff, the control stuff, where you can do both Machina and everything in it that you want to do with the control keyboards. That's cool too. And the key bed is incredible. Thing is are you going to use Machina? And on the side note, I believe from what I understand, it is pronounced Machina, not machine, even though it looks like it with an E on it. But you could do all that stuff, and it integrates with Native Instruments. I use a lot of Native Instruments, and I love it. So if I were to do something that was more on the lines of a Machina that is like an MPC and has that keyboard on it, it would be the Native Instruments version of that MPC, and it would work more efficiently for me because it's a MIDI controller, and I can do anything I want with it. So why not take the money for that and just go get a Control 37 or 49 key keyboard and run that as my MIDI controller, and I get a good array of pads, and you've got a good key bed that plays well, and everything you need, if I want to do that. So I got to sit down and do some research, but I figure I'd give you an update and go, hey, we knew you wouldn't stay with it, but it's worth a try. You never know. Listen, I'm not downing it. I think it's an incredible machine, but I don't want it sitting here collecting dust if I'm not going to use it. My time is more used with Logic Pro, and I've realized that. I sat down a week or two ago, or several weeks ago, toying with it. You saw the video. I understand the workflow of the DAW inside that machine, but it drives me crazy. The whole terminology and everything about it. It's like, yeah, that's great, but let me bring up a track, add an instrument, and my EQ, and go with it, and I can look everything, record some vertically, but everything horizontally, where I see the waveform and I see everything. You don't have that on there. Now, I've seen it, but I haven't messed with the MPC DAW that you can put on your MacBook, which works just as well. You get you a good Akai controller and do it. Now, they say that the Akai controllers don't ultimately communicate with the MPC DAW. They did with Beats, but you have to go in and kind of manipulate it and tell it to do so with some things. Not the end of the world. You got your keypads and keys. It works. It does. But the whole MPC DAW setup just drives me crazy. I don't need to learn another DAW. I don't. That's great, and there's nothing wrong with that DAW. If you use it, you do you. I think it's cool. Listen, Akai has done incredible things. And when Roger Lynn developed the Verse MPC, he's a genius, man. He knew what he was doing, and it became a hit. This is the same guy that did the Lindrum from the 80s and several other things. And you got a guy on YouTube named Andy Mack. He represents Akai, and he travels and showcases a new product. That guy can work an MPC like I've never seen somebody do it. And there are guys that know how to work these MPCs. And when you really learn the workflow, it's not hard, but it's just not for me. I mean, I did that stuff in the 90s with Roland keyboards. It was nowhere near what that thing is. Nowhere near. But I just love, man, this computer screen and be able to bring up my DAW and just have everything visually, and I can put my hands on it and just go, and it sounds incredible. That's what I love about Logic Pro. And I love about Persona Studio One Pro. Hey, I love it about Reason, even though the DAW is falling behind. It's not bad. If you're a Reason user, and you do you. If you are a Reason user and you haven't ventured into like Logic Pro or Persona Studio One Pro, I would encourage you to do so, because you will learn the difference of where Reason is falling behind. Not to down Reason. I just told you. I use Reason racks. I use everything in Reason, but I use it in Logic Pro, and I absolutely love it. Their synths are really cool. They've got great players, man. There's a lot of creative stuff in Reason. But I don't think Reason is right now focused on being a DAW. They just want to be a VST company, I think, with racks. I think it's where they're updating the DAW little bits and pieces, but they're nowhere near where they need to be. So, but anyway, I just want to jump on. I didn't want to ramble. I'll get on and talk more as things come to mind about music sync licensing, but that's where I'm at with the MPC, man. That's going to be a thought here, and I will probably make that decision by this weekend. This thing may be going on OfferUp or somewhere. I don't really want to have to ship this thing, so it ain't going on eBay. But I can tell you, it's, I think it was, $900? Let me look at this, see what I paid for it. I bought it from Guitar Center. Yes, I did. Bought it from Guitar Center. and it it was about $900 if I recall. Expensive. Not $899, yeah, $900. But it cost me around 11 or 1200 because I bought all those instruments and stuff with it. You know, that's okay. I've got the instruments on my computer. I've got all that stuff. I'm not worried about it. It's okay. What I will probably do is contact Akai and say, listen, if I sell this thing, I need to know what to do because there's a serial number on there. And it's got to be when someone else logs in on that with that serial number, they may need to know. I'll find out. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you don't. It's okay. But we'll see. But I'm not taking less than $750 for this thing. I can guarantee you won't find a brand new MPC for $750. And if someone wants to say, hey, well, the keys are there, everything's perfect. I haven't even used the damn thing. Trust me. I just noodled with it. I haven't even done anything seriously on this thing. So anyway, I'm off. I will see you guys on the next video. And I appreciate you for watching. I just want to jump on and kind of talk about that red elephant in the room over there. I haven't been using it. Maybe it's because I've been so busy with other music and I'm comfortable with the DAW. But, you know, if I sat down and just solely in the last 3 or 4 months did everything only on the MPC, it would be different. I'd be flowing. But the problem is some people might argue with me, but it's limited. It's very limited compared to what I can do in Logic Pro. Because I have to take what little I can do on there and transfer it into my DAW and expand upon it. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people could start and finish beats on that. That's great. But when you're doing film and TV music and you're doing tracks or release tracks or doing, you know, full songs or doing instrumental stuff that you want to expand upon, especially with guitar. I'm a guitar player. You're not going to get the full Monty on that deal. You're very limited. And at this point, what I can do on there, I can do in Logic Pro. I can bring in everything I need to do. So that's where it's at, folks. Chime in below. Let me know what you think. Should I pass it on and get something else? Because that's where I'm at with this. You know, and I don't regret it. I think it's cool. I'm glad I got one guy to experience what it's like, but, you know, it's not for everybody. It's all good. I'll see you on the next one. Be cool. Bye.